Welcome to Hello Therapy, a podcast to help you take charge of your mental health through evidence-based psychological tips and tools straight from the therapy room so that you can live life better. Winter is here, and for many it can be a really challenging season for our mental health. We can feel low in mood, we can lack motivation, and sometimes just getting out of bed on those cold mornings can feel like a mountain to climb. In this episode, I'm going to share my winter wellness toolkit that is as easy as ABC. It is packed with practical ideas and tips on how you can support your mental health in the winter months and start to thrive rather than just survive. You can also download the toolkit for free, and I'll put the link in the show notes. So let's dive in. So first up, why do we struggle in winter? Winter affects us more than we realise. Shorter days and reduced sunlight can really impact on our circadian rhythm, our mood, and our sleep. It's a time of year where we want to hibernate, we want to stay cozy indoors. And for some people, that is a positive experience, but there are many people who experience the so-called winter blues. And some may even really struggle with something called seasonal affective disorder, or SAD for short, which is a type of depression that people tend to experience in the winter months. So while these experiences can overlap, there are some key differences. So let's break it down. So the winter blues describes a milder form of seasonal mood changes. It's not an actual diagnosable psychiatric condition, and it's common and usually temporary. So you may notice that you're feeling more tired than usual. Your mood may be in a bit of a dip, and everyday tasks may seem a bit more difficult to start and finish. Now, whilst the winter blues does impact your mood, it doesn't usually interfere with your functioning day to day. However, if you're experiencing these symptoms quite persistently and they are impacting on you in your day-to-day life, then it may be a little bit more than winter blues. You may be experiencing seasonal affective disorder. And that's what I'm going to talk you through next. So SAD is a form of clinical depression that typically follows a seasonal pattern. So you typically start to experience it starting in the autumn and through the winter months. According to the Royal College of Psychiatrists, about 3 in every 100 people tend to experience seasonal depression. And interestingly, it's more common in women than it is in men. So the symptoms to look out for are as follows. First, persistent low mood, so feeling sad or hopeless most of the time. Number 2 is fatigue and oversleeping. So it's really struggling to get out of bed and feeling tired no matter how much sleep you get. Number 3 is loss of interest in things. So the things and the activities that used to bring you joy or happiness or gave you a sense of purpose now suddenly just feel really unappealing, and it feels really difficult to do them. Number 4 is cravings and weight gain. So with this type of depression, you tend to experience a strong craving for carbohydrates, which if you're not being active and exercising can lead to weight gain. And lastly, difficulty concentrating, so real trouble focusing on things that you need to do. Now, the thing to note here is that SAD is treatable, and like with other types of depression, you can do things to help. So getting out in the daylight, trying to get as much daylight as you can, remaining active, and getting support from family and friends. In addition, psychological therapy can help, and there is evidence for something called light therapy. And this is where you sit in front of a light box for about 30 minutes a day, and that's to make up for the reduced daylight that we have in winter. But if you do think that you're suffering from SAD, then the first port of call will always be to go to your doctor. So with reduced daylight and cold weather limiting our outdoor activities and social interactions, it's really easy to see why our mental health can suffer in the winter months. So let's now explore how we can help ourselves through the winter months. And I've put together a winter wellness toolkit with all my favorite tips and strategies that you can download for free. And I'll put the link in the show notes. So the toolkit comprises of 3 tools or things that you can do to help your mental health during the winter months. And these are activity, balance, and connection, or ABC. Now, the first tool is activity, and this is probably no surprise. There is a lot of research now that shows that exercise is really good for our mental health. One study in 2023 looked at a range of studies over the last few years, totaling over 120,000 participants, and they found that regular exercise improves mental health, particularly depression, but also anxiety and general psychological distress. And the study found that it was lots of varied types of exercise that had this effect on people's mental health, from resistance training to walking, yoga, Pilates, lots of different types of exercise. So here are my tips for exercising in the winter months. So my first tip is to do indoor workouts. There are going to be days during the winter when perhaps it's a little bit slippery outside and it's maybe dangerous to go running or walking. So indoor workouts are a really good alternative. And to maximize daylight exposure, try and do your workout near a window just to boost those vitamin D levels. My second tip with this is to set yourself achievable goals, especially if you're starting out on your exercise journey. So you may at first set yourself a goal of just doing a 5-minute walk or a 5-minute bike ride, and then work your way up from there. If you're fairly used to exercising, then why not use the winter months to try something different? So maybe sledging or ice skating or skiing perhaps. And finally, if you're really struggling to motivate yourself to do exercise during the winter, then try this psychological trick. And there is a special worksheet in the Winter Wellness Toolkit to help you do this. So try and come from the perspective of your future self. So imagine yourself, I don't know, maybe 6 months from now, and that version of you has spent the winter exercising on a regular basis. So really try and imagine yourself in your mind's eye 6 months from now. What would you feel like having achieved those exercise goals? And how would exercising over the winter months have impacted on your life? And here is the really interesting part. If that future version of you could say something motivating to you right now, what would you say? So moving on to the next tool. The B in the ABC of winter wellness refers to balance. So balancing or regulating our emotions. Now, what we know is that during the cold winter months, our mood can lower as well as our motivation. So think of your emotional well-being like walking on a tightrope. On one side, there is overwhelm, where everything feels too much and you experience intense, difficult emotions, otherwise known as the fight or flight response. On the other side, there's disengagement, where it's hard to feel anything. Maybe you feel numb, you feel shut down and disconnected, aka our freeze response. Now, the goal is to try and stay on the tightrope, and this is sometimes referred to our window of tolerance, and that describes the optimal zone where we can think, feel, and respond effectively to the demands of daily life without being overwhelmed or shutting down. So my tips with this are as follows. Number 1, try and notice when you're starting to fall off the tightrope. So what are the signs for you that you are outside of your window of tolerance? What pushes you into overwhelm or disconnection? And again, in the Winter Wellness Toolkit, I have a page where you can write down some of the signs to help you more easily identify when you're moving into those zones. But your next question might be, well, how can I stay on the tightrope? How can I stay balanced? Well, one of my go-to techniques for this is grounding techniques. Now, grounding techniques help literally ground you. They help you stay in the here and now, in the present moment. And the things that can help you do this is any kind of breathing exercise that helps you slow your breathing down, or any exercise that helps you use your 5 senses. And this will help calm yourself when you feel overwhelmed, but it also help you bring you back into your body if you're feeling shut down. Now, I've recently released a video on a very popular grounding technique, so do go check that out. I'll put the link in the description. Now, alongside grounding techniques, you can also engage in something called soothing activities. So this is anything that can help you feel a sense of calm and soothing. Now, my video on how to cope with difficult feelings explains a lot more about this. Again, I'll put the link in the description. The last tool in our toolkit is connection, and this can be connection to others as well as connection to ourselves. Now, as we spend more time in our homes because it's freezing outside and there's that real pull to go into hibernation mode, This can also trigger feelings of loneliness, especially if you live alone. Now, loneliness has been in the headlines for a while, with some people saying that we're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. And the World Health Organization are so worried about loneliness and the impact that it has on our mental health and our physical health. They commissioned a special working group to look at how loneliness can be recognized and resourced as a public health priority. So, first, let's think about connection with others. Now, connection to others can mean having people in our lives where we feel accepted, we feel understood, supported, and nurtured by those people. It's about having a sense of belonging, feeling like you matter to other people. But let's be really clear, it's not about the number of friends that you have in your life, but your subjective sense of connectedness with others. And I'm going to talk you through some tips on how to increase your sense of connectedness with others. Now, the first one is simple. Reach out. Reach out to your friends or your family members. Even a quick text or a call can really help you feel like you're not alone. Now, if you don't have anyone to reach out to, or you feel like you don't have anyone to reach out to, try taking a class or joining an online community. Now, there are specific websites and apps that are geared towards bringing people together, to helping people meet other people for friendship, either online or in their local area. So a quick Google search will show you the places to go. My second tip is, if possible, plan social activities with others. This could be a weekly movie night or a brisk walk in your favorite winter coat. These small moments of connection can really boost your mood. Finally, volunteering is an option that you may not have thought of before, but it's a really good mental health boost. I found this really interesting British study that found that people who had volunteered in the last year were more satisfied with their lives and rated their overall health better than those people who didn't volunteer. So moving on to connection with ourselves. I believe that winter, more than any other season of the year, is a really great time to reconnect with yourself. But what do I mean about self-connection? Self-connection is defined as having three main elements: self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-alignment. So self-awareness is when you are aware of your internal world, your thoughts, your feelings, your physical sensations, your values, your preferences, and so on. Self-acceptance is essentially accepting yourself without judgment. And self-alignment is when you use knowledge about yourself to behave in ways that authentically reflect who you are. And in the Winter Wellness Toolkit, you will find a questionnaire that will help you test your self-connection. And this can serve as a useful guide to identify whether you need to work on the relationship with yourself. But how can you improve your self-connection? First, take time to check in with your emotions. Even just simply saying, how am I feeling today? And one thing that I always recommend to people is journaling. So journaling your thoughts and your feelings of the day. And in my Winter Wellness Toolkit, you will find some journal prompts. Now, if you struggle to recognize or identify your emotions, you may need a little help in the form of a feelings wheel. And this will just help you simply name the emotions that you're experiencing. And again, I have one in my toolkit. Now, it's all very well say check in with yourself, but if you are busy and you've got lots of things going on, this is going to be quite tricky. So another thing that I recommend to people is to create a bit of a routine or a ritual around that checking in. So maybe you just do a mental check-in, when you're having your morning coffee, for example. Now, another way to promote self-connection is to savor your positive experiences. And this helps because it actively promotes self-reflection and awareness. And I have a podcast episode all on savoring and how to do it, so I'll put the link in the description. My next tip is to practice accepting yourself as you are. And a really good starting point with this is just to validate your emotions, particularly the difficult ones. So whenever a difficult emotion shows up, let's take sadness, you might say something like, it's okay that I feel like this. And linked to this is my final tip, which is to try to be more self-compassionate. So being kind to yourself, giving yourself grace, adopting a warm tone when you speak to yourself. So in summary, winter can be a tough season to navigate, but tools like activity, balance, and connection can help your mental health even in the coldest, darkest days. I hope you found that helpful. Don't forget to check out my free download. Until next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of Hello Therapy. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and review. You can get more well-being and mental health tips by joining our email list and visiting the resources section of our website at harleyclinical.co.uk. The Hello Therapy podcast and the information provided by me, Dr. Liz White, is solely intended for information and educational purposes and does not constitute personalised advice. Please do reach out to your GP or a mental health professional if you need support. Until next time, take care of yourself.